Okay, this is part 2. Amendment 6. Again, this is also part of rights of the accused. And again, this looks like an awful lot to memorize, doesn't it? But we're going to break it down and make it a lot easier. So hang with me here just a minute. I can make it keep going. Okay, in Amendment number 6, it just simply says, one of the things is that, and you can't see the word, shoot, maybe you can now, jurisdiction. It just simply means in Amendment number 6, if you are accused of a crime, that the trial has to take place in the jurisdiction where it happened. And of course, the jurisdiction, I've gone over this with you before, but the jurisdiction is the area that you have authority over. So, in other words, our founding fathers, again, when they wrote this in 1791, they were accustomed to being accused of a crime and sent from the colonies all the way back to England to be tried. And of course, they weren't given a fair trial that way. And so one of the things they do with this is they say, hey, if you're accused of a crime, you have to be tried in the same jurisdiction where the crime took place. And so that's what that refers to. You also have, this is where you have the right to a trial. Come on. It just shows this is your petit jury. Your petit jury is your small jury, not your grand jury. Your petit jury is the one that you see on your TV shows. So your petit jury is the one that listens to the court case. They listen to the witnesses. They decide which ones they believe and which ones they don't. And they're the ones that decide whether you're guilty or innocent. And so you have the right to a trial by jury, and it's called a jury of your peers. So it's supposed to be people like you. And that's kind of why I mentioned earlier, we like for the jury to come in what they call a tabula rasa, a blank slate. You know nothing about any of the people involved. You want to come in just totally blank about everything involving the case. They don't even want you to have read about it in the newspaper. They want you to have no opinion about it before you get started. They don't want you to know the attorneys involved, the police involved, obviously the one that's charged with a crime. They want you to just be totally innocent of knowledge about the case. And hopefully that way you will only have what they give you to base your decision on. And again, they're shooting for a fair decision. They want honesty and truthfulness, and so they want people to be on the trial jury that are going to have different ways of looking at it because they come from different backgrounds and what have you. But I get talking too much here. So you have a jury of your peers. You have the right to a trial, and of course all trials have judges. Remember, a judge in a trial is just like a referee in a ball game. He's not supposed to be for, or he or she is not supposed to be for one side or the other. They're supposed to make sure both sides play fair. You also have the right in Amendment number 6 to confront your witnesses. That means that people that are testifying against you, you have the right to see who they are. And now, oftentimes this doesn't happen if it's a juvenile case. If you have a child involved, they may not be brought into the courtroom. But again, this is to protect the accused because you don't want somebody just making something up. So if you're going to say somebody is guilty of something, you can't just do it anonymously. You have to be willing to confront those that you're accusing. You also have the right to bring in people if you can find anybody. I know y'all would struggle with this, ha ha. But you have the right to bring in people that would say, oh my goodness, he would never have done such a thing. He's such a good person, or she's such a good person, they would never have done this. You have the right to bring in witnesses in your favor. And you have the right to an attorney. And because the Constitution says you have the right to an attorney, they have changed it later on where they give you the right to an attorney even if you can't afford one. So we do have public defenders now. We didn't used to. Originally, that wasn't the case. But they have public defenders where if you can't afford to hire your own attorney, the government will provide one for you. Now let's get on to Amendment 7. From now on, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are relatively quick. We'll go through these relatively quickly. Amendment number 7 is also dealing with the courts, but it's a different type of court. it's a civil court case. When you have a criminal court case, then obviously that means that there's been a crime committed, or you're accused of a crime being committed. And therefore, everything is a little bit different. You have 12 jurors that will listen to your case. Not the grand jury, but 12 jurors that will listen to your case, and they will be the ones that deliberate and decide whether you're innocent or guilty. In a civil court case, usually there's not been a crime committed. You have a plaintiff and a defendant. If you're the one that is in trouble, if you're the one that's being sued, you are the defendant. If you are the person that is doing the suing, you're suing someone for something, you are the plaintiff. So in Amendment number 7, the Constitution says, and again, this was 1791, so $20 was probably a lot more money then than it is today, obviously. But the Constitution says that if the questionable, whatever it is that is in play, whatever it is that you're discussing, whatever the problem is, if it's worth $20 or more, then you have the right to a trial by jury, which is a civil court case. Now, of course, today you've got to think about this reasonably. Let me back up just a minute. If, let's say, okay, you guys are 12th graders, so I'm going to use a couple of you as examples. Let's say Jayla. Jayla is backing up in the parking lot, and she bumps into Austin's car, and she puts a big old scratch on it. I mean, it is nasty. Well, she doesn't want to turn it in on her insurance because then her insurance prices will go up. So, you know, Austin, at first he says, oh, Jayla, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. My car's old. I don't really need to worry about it. But then he gets thinking about it and he thinks, man, I'd really like to fix that. And I can't afford to fix that. I don't want to pay for that. So I need to get Jayla to pay for that. Well, so he comes back to Jayla and he says, Jayla, this is going to cost me a couple $1,000s. I need you to come up with that money. Well, if she doesn't do it, if she can't or she won't or what have you, then he can sue her. He can take her to court and sue her for that money. Okay, now that's a civil case. That's one person. Austin would be the plaintiff. He would be suing the defendant, Jayla, for bumping into his car and not getting it fixed. Now, again, of course, that today, you would almost have anything and everything would be over $20. You definitely wouldn't want to sue someone for something as little as $20. You probably wouldn't want to sue them for $2,000 because you've got to realize your expenses. If you have to hire an attorney, you're going to pay a lot more than $2,000 for your attorney. And so you need to kind of, juggle the common sense of this type of an idea. But anyway, in Amendment 7, you do have the right to take someone to court if the matter at hand is $20 or more, if it's valuable or worth $20 or more. Now, the reason why I put Judge Judy up here is that's why we have a lot of those type of entertainment type of courts. People have agreed to go on national television for whatever reason and display their dirty laundry for the whole world to see. But I'm sure in these type of cases, if you're willing, they'll fly you out to Hollywood or they'll send you wherever they film these shows. And I'm sure both parties probably get some money, some compensation for it. So even if you lose the court case, even if Judge Judy does not rule in your favor, you're probably still going to get some kind of money. Although I can't imagine you get enough money to air all your dirty laundry for national TV. But still yet, that's why we have a lot of these type of things. People are willing to do this rather than wait and take their lawsuit through the docket, which is the court calendar. Because obviously if you want to sue somebody, you're going to have to go through a local court. And the docket or the calendar is usually relatively full. And so if you're going to sue somebody, if Austin wants to get his car fixed before he graduates, well, good luck. Because you're probably not going to have that court case even happen for another year, maybe two. And so, it just, this kind of makes this kind of thing possible. Okay, I'm trying to hurry, so bear with me. Amendment 8 is another protection against anything that might be required of us if you're accused of a crime. So number 1, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed nor cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. All that means is, number one, what is bail? That's a word you need to know. Bail is your money to get out of jail free. Now, it doesn't mean you get out of jail forever. It just simply means, if, like I was saying before about the court calendar, the docket, if you're going to be tried, if you've been indicted by a grand jury and you're going to be going to trial, you're probably not going to trial for a while. It's probably going to be several months at best before the court is going to have time to hear your case. So what do they do with you between the time you're indicted for a crime and the time you're actually tried for a crime? Again, that might be a year. It might be several months at best. So if they think that you're going to run, if they think that you're not going to show up for your trial, they may not grant you bail. They may say, they're a flight risk. They've already got their passport to Costa Rica in their pocket and $100,000, and they're bugging out of here. They're not planning to stick around. Okay, so they may not grant you bail, and they may put you in jail for 6 months or a year, or however long it is, before your trial. Now, if it's not a big deal, I mean, what this is basically saying is if you have shoplifted at Walmart, and they're not going to arrest you for that anyway, but if you've done something small, they can't give you a bail of $6 or $7 million, to make you come up with that to stay out of jail. Your bail and your fines have to fit the crime. So, in other words, if you have done something that is not as bad as something else, I don't really know how to word this per se, but it's just the bail has to match what it is that the crime is worth. For instance, if you have somebody that goes into a school and shoots and kills 10 people, 1 person, 5 people, however many, okay, that's a big deal. And that bail is going to be maybe millions of dollars, if that, because they want to be sure that that person goes to trial. So that person may have to go sit in jail until his trial happens. But if not, what the bail is used for, if you are able to produce the bail, if you are able to get that, so you can stay out of jail until your trial, that bail goes to be used as money to track you down if you don't show up for your trial. So there's reasons for bail, but it has to match. What this is trying to say is it has to match the crime. It can't be excessive. It can't be, way above what you would expect for whatever the crime was. It also can't be too little. If the person did go in and kill a whole bunch of people, then, like I said, their bail's going to be millions of dollars, if at all. Okay, and no cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. Okay, so they can't torture you. They can't punish you in such a way that is deemed as cruel and unusual punishment. And some people use this as an argument against the death penalty. They say, what is more cruel and unusual than putting someone to death? And so I don't know, lots of different ideas, controversial ideas about these things. You, as an American citizen, will need to decide how you feel about these things. These issues may come up again in different ways. Okay, now the next one, Amendment 9. Amendment 9, come on. All right, whatever. Amendment 9, it just simply says, this is what I refer to as a grab bag amendment, okay? Our founding fathers thought, okay, we've listed some rights that people should have, and they should not be denied these rights. And we want to be sure that they have them, but we're bound to have left something out. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that people have rights, even if they're not mentioned. Enumerated literally means numbered and listed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or what we've done up to this point, 1 through 8 of the Bill of Rights. So the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights, 1 through 8, shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. In other words, this says that you still have the right to move from West Virginia to Florida, although why you would do that, I have no idea. You have the right to get married. You have the right to go to college. You have the right to do all kinds of things that have not been mentioned in the Constitution up to this point. So just because they didn't mention it doesn't mean you are denied that right. And that's what Amendment 9 means. It just is a grab bag amendment. It's basically thrown in to just accommodate all kinds of other things. And of course, people abuse this sometimes. And they say, well, we have the right to have an abortion because it doesn't say we don't. And so we'll throw that in and we'll say Amendment 9 says I have the right to do these kind of things. So you always have people that abuse the system. Okay. And Amendment number 10, my goodness, what a chaotic thing that is. Amendment number 10, well, I'll fix it later. Powers reserved respectively to the people. What this literally means is it's like Amendment number 9. It's a grab bag amendment. Only this one deals with powers, political powers, governmental powers. Governmental powers to enforce the laws, make the laws, interpret the laws, all those kind of powers. Government powers. And it says if those powers are not delegated to the United States, to the federal government, to like Congress or the president, to the United States by the Constitution, and if they are not prohibited by the Constitution, if they say you cannot do them, then first of all, those powers don't go to the federal government. They go to the state government. This again was one of those states' rights issues in Amendment number 10. It was the idea that if there is a government power that we have not designated in the Constitution, first it would go to the states, and then it would go to the people inside the states. So Amendment number 10 deals with government powers, and it just simply says if we fail to mention them in the Constitution anywhere, that doesn't mean that they cannot happen, but it does mean that the states get first dibs on it, and then the people within the states. And again, Amendment number 9 is rights and freedoms and privileges. The Constitution does not deny you the right to go to a public school or deny you the right to go to a private school because, hey, you have that right. If you have that ability, you have that right. So, I mean, those are different things that, again, are kind of grab bags. Now, like I said earlier, there are 17 more amendments to the Constitution. One of the things about our amendment process that you'll need to kind of think about is whereas there have been hundreds of amendments proposed in 200 some odd years since 1789, since 1791, but only 27 total have been agreed upon and made a part of the Constitution. And that's because there is a process that has to be followed to change it. I mean, the Constitution mentions slavery in it. Okay, well, we don't have slaves today. We haven't had slaves for generations. We don't want to have slavery today. So the Constitution made an amendment. The 13th Amendment says that it is unconstitutional, illegal to put a human being in bondage as a servant to anyone else, forcibly made into a servant, that's unconstitutional. But we still have the part of the Constitution that talks about slavery. I mean, they didn't go in and just, okay, well, let's just wipe that out because it doesn't exist anymore. No, they just made that amendment that said that part of the Constitution isn't there. So you don't willy-nilly just go in and change this all-important document that governs our land. You can't do that. That is so foundational and important. Okay, these two videos, I'm sure, have taken up more time than you wanted to give to them, but so be it. Go have a turkey sandwich and think about this and have your notes ready tomorrow. This quiz will be on LMS. You can use your notes. Later on this week, there's going to be one where you cannot use your notes, and that'll be a test. So think about it, study it a little bit. Have a good day.